Hello everyone, and thanks so much for all the support with all of my videos. Thanks for the likes, shares and comments, and I'm very grateful to everybody who's pressed subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also follow me on different platforms such as TikTok and X. And again, wait till the end of the video and I want to give you a couple of updates regarding my videos as well. Today I want to speak about the immigration chaos in Ireland. The Central Statistics Office here in Ireland has published figures to explain the rise in population over the last year. Since April 2023 to April 2024, these figures were published, and it's shown a net increase of nearly 100,000 people over that period of time. We've had record amounts of immigration. 69,000 people left Ireland in the same period as well, the highest amount since 2015. So we can see more and more of the younger people being forced out of the country in particular because of unaffordable accommodation, because of huge issues that young people are facing. A lot of people who are recently qualified as nurses, doctors, teachers have been forced out of the country because of a spiralling cost of living crisis and accommodation crisis in Ireland. And not to mention, as I said, the net figure is up. Now this is interesting because I've spoken in many videos about the reasons for immigration. People in Irish society, it's a corporate state. We see the Irish political establishment bow down to bureaucrats in Brussels, and they're valued by their economic value rather than by people, by the human value, which is just significant in terms of what's really happening if you drill down behind the figures. Because we see so many commercial property owners making huge money from immigration. We also, in particular, have seen big employers making huge profits by repressing wages and looking for cheap labour from abroad. And this is part of the agenda in Ireland. And we've seen where the government pay lip service to the interests of ordinary people here. We see a catastrophic amount of people on housing waiting lists, not to mention a homeless crisis, not to mention health waiting lists. And we've seen many reports to state how much the population's due to increase over the next number of years. But yet the Irish government are playing along with this because all they want to play is their leprechaun economics, pie in the sky economics and GDP figures, which actually mean nothing on the ground for ordinary people. It's all based on international capital, based on multinationals, and based on billionaires and big business, and not based on the reality on the ground in the lives of ordinary people. Now, in the context of this as well, we can see Simon Harris, who was in Paris yesterday, another flight on a private jet, no doubt, that I spoke about in one of my previous videos that you can look back on in terms of the travel that these political elites are flying at our expense on their private jets. And it's also interesting because Simon Harris said in Paris yesterday that migration is seen as a positive. And he also said that they need to improve processing systems. Do you see where this is going? Fair and fair system. We're going to increase and improve processing systems. And this is going to be the narrative coming into the general election. So don't fall for any of their nonsense and spin and propaganda. And he also said that he wants to work on integration policies. Well, it's working class people that are most impacted most of all because of their policies, because of the neoliberal policies that has led to the disasters that we're facing with housing, health, education, and need to go on. And it's also, he said, he wants to get them working. Ireland has a huge amount of youth unemployment, and not to mention a huge amount of young people in poverty, families in poverty, elderly people who are forced into poverty. Today, the latest announcement was made again that it's going to be an increase in electricity prices coming into the winter again. Huge profits for these companies. But then again, who's going to pay and carry the can? Ordinary people are going to be afraid to turn on the heating. More people die of fuel poverty across the European Union and in Ireland in particular. Over 3,000 deaths are attributed every year because of fuel poverty also, which again never goes spoken about in Irish society. And he also said, Harris, that they desperately need people in some sectors. Now, isn't this interesting? Because if you drill down through the figures, you can see a lot of workers that have come into Ireland. Immigration in the last year, especially in the last few years since the war in Ukraine, You've seen a lot of Ukrainians working in low pay, hospitality work, working in shops and cafes. One article I read a number of days ago was about a town in County Clare, Ballyvaughan, where 2 of the 3 hotels were closed down, used for accommodation, which had a knock-on effect on small businesses in those areas. And a lot of the people that came in are working in shops and cafes. No, low pay work, no doubt, and ably suits the big bosses. And it's also interesting because this has a knock-on effect on small businesses, because small businesses are impacted downstream because of the lack of people using the hotels. But what's not to love when you're a big hotel owner or guest house provider and making money from the misery of many, many people? But again, we've seen up to 855 government supported and contracted accommodation facilities in Ireland. Also as well, there's over 107,000 Ukrainians still in Ireland, and there's still 33 Ukrainians arriving per day as well. But then again, as I said, Harris was in Paris yesterday, no pun intended, but Harris again was with Macron, again, who's trying his own authoritarian pull in France about trying to stop a new government coming together. But again, this is how they're all moving towards authoritarianism. And you always see it with Harris also as well, because Harris has been meeting Macron to speak yesterday, wait for it, interestingly enough, about the Capital Markets Union. This is something that's been brought forward over the last 10 years in the European Union, and it has been pushed in particular by Jean-Claude Juncker. Remember, famously, he was the former European Commission President who said that a bomb would go off in Dublin. Do you remember that statement? In terms of standing up to the vultures, or standing up to the IMF, or standing up to the European Central Bank or the European Union, and not accepting the terms of the bailout that caused so much misery and austerity on ordinary people that we're still carrying the can for today, with the impacts of this, with sky high rents, absolutely carnage on our hospital waiting lists as well, not to mention social and public services being obliterated. But again, this is not what they want to spin when they're telling people from abroad. But it's also interesting that this is all about free movement of capital. Capital can move anywhere across the European Union now. That's their agenda. And again, the European Union, we know most of the legislation comes from the European Commission. Unelected technocrats in the European Union, and it's all lobbyists that push this again, who control the power in Brussels. So who benefits? It's always the 1% and super rich. But it's important to note the change in narrative around what's coming on over the next period of time. And in terms of the huge pressure on services, in terms of the population growth, in terms of the ordinary people are going to be carrying the can for this, and also in terms of the huge amount of people leaving the country at record levels. Young people now in particular don't see a future in Ireland, which is absolutely horrific. When people are proud to have been brought up with their families, with their friends, part of their communities, and being told to head away, head abroad again, and leave Ireland rather than actually have a future here. But at the same time, the door is open for plenty and plenty of cheap labour. And who does that benefit? Benefits the establishment, benefits the status quo. And it just shows you the complicity of all the so-called opposition in this by not standing up and telling the truth to what's really going on with this whole immigration crisis as well. And it's also interesting because it shows really them up for what they are, all part of a one-party system that props up the Irish political establishment rather than people that are interested in serving the needs of ordinary people, and treat people in a dignified way where they have a right to a home, a health service, education, and being treated with dignity in their communities where we have a proper life and people are treated not by their economic value but by their human value, which I think is a basic human right, and there should be a way society and economy should work around that premise at a foundation level. So thanks a lot for the support of my videos, really appreciate them. Please press subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on other platforms as well. And also, if you want me to talk about various issues or issues you want me to bring up, just send a link in the comments, and I'm very grateful. And also, thanks to everybody who supports me through Buy Me a Coffee as well. I'm very appreciative of all your support and grateful through all your support through that platform as well. So again, from Dublin, thanks. Thanks a lot for all your support, and Salon. Take care. See you soon. Bye bye.